You know, getting a job at NVIDIA isn't just getting a job. It's like stepping onto the factory floor where the future of AI is being built, right now. The best companies, the ones at the absolute top, they hire the sharpest people. And let's be honest, no one's performing higher than NVIDIA. So, that begs the question, what exactly are they looking for? What skills, what kind of culture, what mindset does the world's most valuable chip company demand? Well, today we're going to break it all down. We're going to figure out how to get past the gatekeepers and inside the most important tech fortress on the planet.
First, let's just start with a number. 90%. That is NVIDIA's estimated slice of the AI data center GPU market. Think about that. That's not just market leadership. That's pretty much a monopoly. And that level of dominance, it shapes absolutely everything about the company, especially who they decide to let through the front door.
And that really brings us to the core idea of this whole explainer. You have to understand that for NVIDIA, hiring isn't just some routine HR task. No, it is a core part of their entire business strategy. They see it as defending a fortress, a massive, technological fortress built on silicon and protected by this deep, powerful software moat called CUDA. And every single person they hire, they're chosen to be a defender and a builder of that fortress.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting because you can see how these big corporate numbers translate directly into what they want from you. Look at that 72.7% gross margin. That's staggering. It means they need people who can squeeze every last drop of performance out of their hardware to protect those profits. See the extraordinary demand for their new Blackwell chips? That means they need engineers who can scale new tech at like lightning speed. And that giant market share? That means they need experts, true experts, who can deepen the lock-in of their CUDA ecosystem. The bar is incredibly high because, well, the stakes are monumental.
Okay, so let's say your resume makes it past the first filter. Now you have to deal with the culture. You have to understand the rules of the house. And at NVIDIA, those rules are pretty much written by one guy, founder and CEO Jensen Huang. And this isn't just about fluffy corporate values. It's a very specific, intense doctrine that you have to be ready for from day one.
Yeah, this quote says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the environment. It's a culture of intense, super direct feedback. The goal is always excellence, but the path to get there is paved with what they call radical candor. Really, in an interview, they're testing for one thing above all else. Can you take direct public criticism without letting your ego get in the way? Because, well, that's just a normal Tuesday at NVIDIA.
So how do you possibly survive that kind of torture? Well, you do it with this: intellectual honesty. This is the cultural antidote. It's the core value that makes the entire intense system actually work. It just means you prioritize the mission and the truth way above your own pride. Can you admit you were wrong in front of a whole team? Can you hunt for the truth even if it means your brilliant idea gets thrown out? That is exactly what they are digging for in every single behavioral interview question. And this chart just lays out the difference so clearly. On the left, you've got NVIDIA's world. It's flat, it's transparent, and the boss isn't your manager. The mission is the boss. Feedback is direct and often happens in a group. On the right, you have the traditional corporate ladder that, let's face it, most of us are used to. To make it in NVIDIA, you absolutely need a low ego, high resilience, and you have to be ready for a system where the best idea wins no matter who it came from.
All right, so we've covered the mindset. Now let's talk about the hard skills. If cultural fit gets you in the room, these technical skills are the keys you need to even unlock the fortress gate. Honestly, without these, the conversation just doesn't even begin.
Now, the basics are probably what you'd expect, right? You gotta have strong C++ and Python skills. You need deep experience with frameworks like PyTorch and TensorFlow. But the real gatekeeper, the one skill that truly separates the people who get offers from those who don't, it's mastery of the CUDA ecosystem. That's their baby. It's the software that unlocks the GPU's power. This is NVIDIA's home turf, and you have to prove you can play the game at an expert level, period.
Let me give you a perfect example of the kind of depth they expect you to have. Let's talk about warp divergence. So, inside a GPU, threads work together in little teams of 32 called a warp. Now, if a simple if-then statement makes some threads in that team do one thing and the other threads do something else, they can't work in parallel anymore. They have to run one after the other, and it absolutely kills performance. Knowing the definition isn't enough. You have to know how to fix it.
And here it is. This is the kind of practical, nuts and bolts thinking they're looking for. You solve it by carefully structuring your code to avoid messy branching, making sure all the threads in a warp are, marching in the same direction. It's this super deep,
hardware-aware way of thinking that they value so much. They don't just want people who can write code. They're looking for, like, performance surgeons.
So the main point here is that it all comes down to efficiency. It goes way beyond just warp divergence. You've got to show them you have a deep, intuitive feel for the whole GPU memory hierarchy. Things like memory coalescing, which is all about organizing how you access memory to be super efficient. That's the kind of stuff that lets you squeeze every ounce of power out of the hardware. That's the real endgame for any serious candidate.
Okay, we've covered the culture and we've covered the tech. Now it's time for the final piece, the actionable playbook. This is how you forge your own master key to get inside that fortress. Let's put this all together.
Look at this chart. This is so important. Yeah, direct applications are the biggest slice, but check out that other number. A massive 39% of hires come from employee referrals. What does that tell you? It tells you that networking is not optional. A warm referral from someone inside is the single best way to get your resume out of the algorithm's hands and into a real person's. It's your express lane past the first gatekeeper.
So once a human actually sees your resume, it has to pop. Just look at the difference here. On the left, optimized neural network performance. Okay, what does that even mean? It's vague. Now look at the right. Optimized model using TensorRT, reducing inference latency from 120 milliseconds to 18 milliseconds. That's an 85% improvement. It's specific, it's credible, it's impressive. Every single bullet point on your resume needs to look like the one on the right. You have to quantify everything. So here it is, your action plan. Step 1, network like crazy to get that referral. Step 2, go get an NVIDIA DLI certification, that's from their Deep Learning Institute, to prove you're serious about their ecosystem. 3, build a public GitHub portfolio that literally shows off your GPU optimization projects. 4, quantify every single thing on your resume. And 5, prepare your stories using the STAR method and make sure they tie directly back to those core values, especially intellectual honesty.
And that really brings us back to the main takeaway. This whole process, the intense culture screen, the brutal technical gauntlet, the resume test, it's not just a series of random hoops to jump through. It is a carefully designed evaluation system meant to find one thing and one thing only: proof that you are ready, willing, and able to help build and defend the most important technology fortress in the world today.
So after all of this, the path forward is actually pretty clear. We've laid out the map. You have the keys. The only question that's left is a personal one for you. Are you ready to step up and help build what comes next?